CLEP Introduction to Educational Psychology Online Test Prep. Question 1. When Nora notices that students start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz in a mini lecture, which idea is being tested? Option A, constructivism. Option B, operant conditioning. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, metacognition. The correct answer is option C. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Constructivism is not the best choice because it explains active meaning making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Operant conditioning is different because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Metacognition does not fit because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Question 2. During a peer study circle, Nora studies a case where a teacher adds praise after a student participates and participation increases. Which term fits best? Option A, negative reinforcement. Option B, punishment. Option C, positive reinforcement. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option C. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Punishment is different because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Extinction does not fit because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Question 3. In a Bright Review class, Nora asks why students complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home. Which answer names the idea? Option A, negative reinforcement. Option B, positive reinforcement. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, response cost. The correct answer is option A. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Positive reinforcement is not the best choice because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Classical conditioning is different because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Response cost does not fit because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Question 4. After reading that a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases, how should Nora label the concept? Option A, negative reinforcement. Option B, shaping. Option C, positive punishment. Option D, positive reinforcement. The correct answer is option C. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Shaping is different because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Question 5. For a short exam review, Nora connects a teacher rewards each closer attempt as a shy student gradually speaks louder in class with which principle? Option A, shaping. Option B, extinction. Option C, reciprocal teaching. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option A. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Extinction is not the best choice because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Reciprocal teaching is different because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Question 6. Could a case where a teacher stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away be an example of which concept for Nora? Option A, punishment. Option B, extinction. Option C, modeling. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option B, Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Punishment is not the best choice because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Modeling is different because it involves learning by watching others. Spaced practice does not fit because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Question 7. Why would Neuralink a student keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, variable ratio schedule. Option B, fixed ratio schedule. Option C, fixed interval schedule. Option D, variable interval schedule. The correct answer is option A, variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Fixed interval schedule is different because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Variable interval schedule does not fit because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Question 8. A practice item tells Nora that students work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday. Which concept is most likely? Option A, fixed interval schedule. Option B, variable ratio schedule. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, token economy. The correct answer is option A, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Variable ratio schedule is not the best choice because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it depends on a set number of responses. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Question 9. Before answering, Nora identifies that a child copies a classmate's polite hand raising after seeing the classmate praised. Which term should be chosen? Option A, trial and error learning. Option B, insight learning. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, observational learning. The correct answer is option D, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Trial and error learning is not the best choice because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Insight learning is different because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Classical conditioning does not fit because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Question 10. Which choice helps Nora explain why a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems in a quick quiz review? Option A, self-concept. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, external locus of control. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option D, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. Self-concept is not the best choice because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific confidence. Intrinsic motivation is different because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. External locus of control does not fit because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Question 11. How can Nora classify a classroom moment where a student's confidence, learning behavior, and teacher response all influence one another? Option A, norm reference testing. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, reciprocal determinism. Option D, maturation. The correct answer is option C, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Norm reference testing is not the best choice because it compares scores to other test takers. Classical conditioning is different because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Maturation does not fit because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Question 12. Suppose Nora observes that a teacher gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as students improve. Which concept is shown? Option A, standardization. Option B, extinction. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, scaffolding. The correct answer is option D. Scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Standardization is not the best choice because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Extinction is different because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Summative assessment does not fit because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Question 13. While reviewing, Nora sees a student can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, reliability. Option B, mastery learning. Option C, zone of proximal development. Option D, formal operational stage. The correct answer is option C. Zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Mastery learning is different because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Formal operational stage does not fit because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Question 14. One interesting clue says a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category. Which educational psychology term fits for Nora? Option A, accommodation. Option B, conservation. Option C, assimilation. Option D, encoding. The correct answer is option C. Assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Accommodation is not the best choice because it changes the schema to fit new information. Conservation is different because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Encoding does not fit because it is getting information into memory. Question 15. From this example, where a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses, which answer should Nora select? Option A, assimilation. Option B, rehearsal. Option C, class inclusion. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option D. Accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Assimilation is not the best choice because it would force new information into an old schema. Rehearsal is different because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Class inclusion does not fit because it involves understanding category relationships. Question 16. Students in a mini-lecture discuss why a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, pre-operational thinking. Option B, formal operational thinking. Option C, sensoromotor thinking. Option D, concrete operational thinking. The correct answer is option D. Concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Pre-operational thinking is not the best choice because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Formal operational thinking is different because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Sensoromotor thinking does not fit because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Question 17. Teachers in a peer study circle wonder why a teen reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples. Which principle applies? Option A, pre-operational thinking. Option B, object permanence. Option C, concrete operational thinking. Option D, formal operational thinking. The correct answer is option D. Formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of this stage. Pre-operational thinking is not the best choice because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Object permanence is different because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Concrete operational thinking does not fit because it works best with tangible examples. Question 18. Can Nora treat an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared as evidence of which concept? Option A, egocentrism. Option B, centration. Option C, conservation. Option D, object permanence. The correct answer is option D. Object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Egocentrism is not the best choice because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Centration is different because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Conservation does not fit because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Question 19. If Nora must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and learning skills? Option A, trust versus mistrust. Option B, generativity versus stagnation. Option C, identity versus role confusion. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option D. Industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Trust versus mistrust is not the best choice because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Generativity versus stagnation is different because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Identity versus role confusion does not fit because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Question 20. Rather than guessing, Nora should connect a teenager explores values, careers, and beliefs to answer who they are with which concept? Option A, intimacy versus isolation. Option B, autonomy versus shame. Option C, identity versus role confusion. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option C. Identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Intimacy versus isolation is not the best choice because it usually involves young adult relationships. Autonomy versus shame is different because it describes toddlers building independence. Industry versus inferiority does not fit because it focuses on school-age competence. Question 21. Curiosity rises when Nora reads that a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, conventional morality. Option B, moral realism. Option C, post-conventional morality. Option D, pre-conventional morality. The correct answer is option A. Conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Moral realism is not the best choice because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Post-conventional morality is different because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Pre-conventional morality does not fit because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Question 22. A CLEP-style scenario says a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward. Which answer best captures it for Nora? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, identity achievement. Option C, post-conventional morality. Option D, conventional morality. The correct answer is option A. Pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Identity achievement is not the best choice because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Post-conventional morality is different because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Conventional morality does not fit because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Question 23. Inside a tutoring table, Nora studies why a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights. Which concept fits? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, conventional morality. Option C, post-conventional morality. Option D, learned helplessness. The correct answer is option C, post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Pre-conventional morality is not the best choice because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Conventional morality is different because it generally supports rules and social order. Learned helplessness does not fit because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Question 24. Looking at the clue that a teacher plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design, which idea should Nora remember? Option A, norm reference testing. Option B, multiple intelligences. Option C, working memory. Option D, G factor. The correct answer is option B, multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. Norm reference testing is not the best choice because it compares learners to a group. Working memory is different because it is a limited mental workspace. G factor does not fit because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Question 25. Nora sees that an assignment asks students to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life during a quick quiz review. Which concept best explains it? Option A, triarchic intelligence. Option B, criterion reference testing. Option C, fluid intelligence. Option D, multiple intelligences. The correct answer is option A, triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Criterion reference testing is not the best choice because it measures performance against standards. Fluid intelligence is different because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Multiple intelligences does not fit because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Question 26. When Nora notices that a student studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating in a teacher training scenario, which idea is being tested? Option A, negative reinforcement. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, performance goal. The correct answer is option B, intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Extrinsic motivation is different because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Performance goal does not fit because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Question 27. During a final review session, Nora studies a case where a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card. Which term fits best? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, self-regulation. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option C, extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Self-regulation is different because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Mastery goal does not fit because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Question 28. In a learning lab, Nora asks why a student chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen. Which answer names the idea? Option A, fixed mindset. Option B, performance goal. Option C, avoidance goal. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option D, mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as unchangeable. Performance goal is different because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Avoidance goal does not fit because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Question 29. After reading that a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart, how should Nora label the concept? Option A, mastery goal. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, metacognition. Option D, performance goal. The correct answer is option D. Performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Mastery goal is not the best choice because it centers on improvement and understanding. Intrinsic motivation is different because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Metacognition does not fit because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Question 30. For a short exam review, Nora connects a student explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability with which principle? Option A, information processing theory. Option B, attribution theory. Option C, constructivism. Option D, classroom ecology. The correct answer is option B. Attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Information processing theory is not the best choice because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Constructivism is different because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Classroom ecology does not fit because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Question 31. Could a case where a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible be an example of which concept for Nora? Option A, learned helplessness. Option B, self-efficacy. Option C, positive transfer. Option D, growth mindset. The correct answer is option A. Learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Self-efficacy is not the best choice because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Positive transfer is different because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Growth mindset does not fit because it supports belief that ability can improve. Question 32. Why would Nora link a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, entity theory. Option B, fixed mindset. Option C, growth mindset. Option D, external attribution. The correct answer is option C. Growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. Entity theory is not the best choice because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. Fixed mindset is different because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. External attribution does not fit because it places causes outside the learner. Question 33. A practice item tells Nora that a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson. Which concept is most likely? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, Kohlberg theory. Option C, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Option D, Bloom taxonomy. The correct answer is option C. Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Kohlberg theory is different because it describes moral reasoning development. Bloom taxonomy does not fit because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Question 34. Before answering, Nora identifies that a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps. Which term should be chosen? Option A, procedural memory. Option B, sensory memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, working memory. The correct answer is option D. Working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Procedural memory is not the best choice because it stores skills and habits. Sensory memory is different because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Long-term memory does not fit because it stores information over extended periods. Question 35. Which choice helps Nora explain why a student recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier in an online prep session? Option A, long-term memory. Option B, sensory memory. Option C, selective attention. Option D, working memory. The correct answer is option A. Long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Sensory memory is not the best choice because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Selective attention is different because it filters what receives mental focus. Working memory does not fit because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Question 36. How can Nora classify a classroom moment where a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it? Option A, validity. Option B, extinction. Option C, retrieval. Option D, encoding. The correct answer is option D. Encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Validity is not the best choice because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Extinction is different because it weakens a learned behavior. Retrieval does not fit because it involves pulling stored information back out. Question 37. Suppose Nora observes that a student closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall. Which concept is shown? Option A, retrieval practice. Option B, massed practice. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, centration. The correct answer is option A. Retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Massed practice is not the best choice because it compresses study into one long session. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Centration does not fit because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Question 38. While reviewing, Nora sees a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, norming. Option B, shaping. Option C, massed practice. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option D. Spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Norming is not the best choice because it creates comparison data for a test. Shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Massed practice does not fit because it packs study into one concentrated period. Question 39. One interesting clue says a student links a new theory to personal learning experiences. Which educational psychology term fits for Nora? Option A, reliability. Option B, rote rehearsal. Option C, elaboration. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option C. Elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Reliability is not the best choice because it refers to consistency of measurement. Rote rehearsal is different because it repeats information without adding meaning. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 40. From this example, where a student groups a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories, which answer should Nora select? Option A, response cost. Option B, chunking. Option C, accommodation. Option D, overlearning. The correct answer is option B. Chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Accommodation is different because it changes a schema to fit new information. Overlearning does not fit because it continues practice after initial mastery. Question 41. Students in a teacher training scenario discuss why a student checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, metacognition. Option B, extrinsic motivation. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, automaticity. The correct answer is option A, metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Extrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it depends on external rewards. Classical conditioning is different because it involves learned associations. Automaticity does not fit because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Question 42. Teachers in a final review session wonder why knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability. Which principle applies? Option A, negative punishment. Option B, cognitive dissonance. Option C, extinction. Option D, transfer of learning. The correct answer is option D, transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Negative punishment is not the best choice because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Cognitive dissonance is different because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Extinction does not fit because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Question 43. Can Nora treat a teacher gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins as evidence of which concept? Option A, token economy. Option B, exit ticket. Option C, random assignment. Option D, advance organizer. The correct answer is option D, advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Exit ticket is different because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Random assignment does not fit because it places participants into groups by chance. Question 44. If Nora must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student uses an existing mental framework about learnings to understand a new teaching method? Option A, schema. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, reinforcer. Option D, rubric. The correct answer is option A, schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it shows relative standing in a group. Reinforcer is different because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Rubric does not fit because it is a scoring guide. Question 45. Rather than guessing, Nora should connect too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a student during a first lesson with which concept? Option A, reliability. Option B, cognitive load. Option C, intrinsic motivation. Option D, egocentrism. The correct answer is option B, cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns consistency of scores. Intrinsic motivation is different because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Egocentrism does not fit because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Question 46. Curiosity rises when Nora reads that students build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, maturation. Option B, standardization. Option C, behaviorism. Option D, constructivism. The correct answer is option D, constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Maturation is not the best choice because it emphasizes biological growth. Standardization is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Behaviorism does not fit because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Question 47. A CLEP-style scenario says students investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation. Which answer best captures it for Nora? Option A, norm-referenced assessment. Option B, direct instruction. Option C, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option D, inquiry-based learning. The correct answer is option D. Inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares students to one another. Direct instruction is different because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Fixed ratio reinforcement does not fit because it rewards after a set number of responses. Question 48. Inside a Bright Review class, Nora studies why a teacher models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback. Which concept fits? Option A, direct instruction. Option B, discovery learning. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, peer tutoring. The correct answer is option A. Direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Discovery learning is not the best choice because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects work over time. Peer tutoring does not fit because it uses students helping students. Question 49. Looking at the clue that students work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability, which idea should Nora remember? Option A, competitive learning. Option B, lecture method. Option C, cooperative learning. Option D, independent study. The correct answer is option C. Cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Competitive learning is not the best choice because it ranks students against one another. Lecture method is different because it centers on teacher presentation. Independent study does not fit because it relies on solo learning. Question 50. Nora sees that a teacher adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on student readiness during an online prep session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, standardized instruction. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, differentiated instruction. Option D, random sampling. The correct answer is option C. Differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Standardized instruction is not the best choice because it delivers the same approach to all students. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates after instruction. Random sampling does not fit because it selects participants for research. Question 51. When Nora notices that a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start in a morning lesson, which idea is being tested? Option A, accommodation only. Option B, universal design for learning. Option C, tracking. Option D, mastery grading. The correct answer is option B. Universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Accommodation only is not the best choice because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Tracking is different because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Mastery grading does not fit because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Question 52. During a practice test workshop, Nora studies a case where a teacher uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson. Which term fits best? Option A, placement test. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, formative assessment. The correct answer is option D. Formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Placement test is not the best choice because it sorts students before instruction begins. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to other learners. Summative assessment does not fit because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Question 53. In a tutoring table, Nora asks why a final exam measures what students learned after the unit ends. Which answer names the idea? Option A, diagnostic assessment. Option B, anecdotal record. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, formative assessment. The correct answer is option C. Summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Diagnostic assessment is not the best choice because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Anecdotal record is different because it is a brief observational note. Formative assessment does not fit because it guides instruction during learning. Question 54. After reading that a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery, how should Nora label the concept? Option A, criterion referenced assessment. Option B, ipsative assessment. Option C, norm referenced assessment. Option D, informal observation. The correct answer is option A. Criterion referenced assessment. This describes criterion referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Ipsative assessment is not the best choice because it compares a student to their own past performance. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares students to a reference group. Informal observation does not fit because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Question 55. For a short exam review, Nora connects a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample with which principle? Option A, criterion referenced assessment. Option B, norm referenced assessment. Option C, authentic assessment. Option D, formative assessment. The correct answer is option B. Norm referenced assessment. This describes norm referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Criterion referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares performance to a standard. Authentic assessment is different because it uses real-world tasks. Formative assessment does not fit because it is used during learning for improvement. Question 56. Could a case where a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly be an example of which concept for Nora? Option A, validity. Option B, bias. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option D. Reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Validity is not the best choice because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Bias is different because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative standing. Question 57. Why would Nora link a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, validity. Option B, reliability. Option C, standard error. Option D, inter-rater agreement. The correct answer is option A. Validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Standard error is different because it estimates score uncertainty. Inter-rater agreement does not fit because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Question 58. A practice item tells Nora that all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules. Which concept is most likely? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, authentic assessment. Option C, informal assessment. Option D, standardized test. The correct answer is option D. Standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Authentic assessment is different because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. Before answering, Nora identifies that students design a real learning plan instead of only selecting answers on a test. Which term should be chosen? Option A, norm-referenced assessment. Option B, forced choice test. Option C, standardized assessment. Option D, authentic assessment. The correct answer is option D. Authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares performance to a group. Forced choice test is different because it limits responses to provided options. Standardized assessment does not fit because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Question 60. Which choice helps Nora explain why students receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy in a student coaching session? Option A, rubric. Option B, checklist. Option C, norm table. Option D, syllabus. The correct answer is option A. Rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Checklist is not the best choice because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Norm table is different because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Syllabus does not fit because it outlines course policies and topics. Question 61. How can Nora classify a classroom moment where a teacher moves students from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects? Option A, Bloom taxonomy. Option B, Kohlberg stages. Option C, Erikson stages. Option D, Maslow hierarchy. The correct answer is option A. Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Kohlberg stages is not the best choice because it describes moral reasoning. Erikson stages is different because it describes psychosocial development. Maslow hierarchy does not fit because it organizes human needs. Question 62. Suppose Nora observes that a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services. Which concept is shown? Option A, lesson plan. Option B, norming report. Option C, individualized education program. Option D, rubric. The correct answer is option C. Individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Lesson plan is not the best choice because it guides a teacher's daily instruction but is not a special education legal document. Norming report is different because it summarizes comparison data. Rubric does not fit because it scores performance. Question 63. While reviewing, Nora sees a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, retention. Option B, least restrictive environment. Option C, standardization. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option B. Least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Retention is not the best choice because it keeps a student in the same grade. Standardization is different because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Tracking does not fit because it groups students by perceived ability. Question 64. One interesting clue says a student gets extended time while the learning target stays the same. Which educational psychology term fits for Nora? Option A, acceleration. Option B, accommodation. Option C, modification. Option D, punishment. The correct answer is option B. Accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Acceleration is not the best choice because it moves a learner ahead faster. Modification is different because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Punishment does not fit because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Question 65. From this example, where a student completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations, which answer should Nora select? Option A, universal screening. Option B, modification. Option C, accommodation. Option D, scaffolding. The correct answer is option B. Modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Universal screening is not the best choice because it checks all learners for risk. Accommodation is different because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Scaffolding does not fit because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Question 66. Students in a morning lesson discuss why a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, dyslexia support. Option B, dyscalculia support. Option C, behavior contract. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option A. Dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Dyscalculia support is not the best choice because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Behavior contract is different because it targets behavior goals. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative test standing. Question 67. Teachers in a practice test workshop wonder why a student focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines. Which principle applies? Option A, ADHD classroom support. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, criterion testing. Option D, gifted compacting. The correct answer is option A. ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli with responses. Criterion testing is different because it compares performance to standards. Gifted compacting does not fit because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Question 68. Can Nora treat an advanced student skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment as evidence of which concept? Option A, curriculum compacting. Option B, retention. Option C, extinction. Option D, remediation. The correct answer is option A. Curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Retention is not the best choice because it repeats a grade or course. Extinction is different because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Remediation does not fit because it retakes skills that are not yet mastered. Question 69. If Nora must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to students' cultural backgrounds? Option A, colorblind teaching. Option B, ability tracking. Option C, standardized testing. Option D, culturally responsive teaching. The correct answer is option D. Culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Colorblind teaching is not the best choice because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Ability tracking is different because it separates students by perceived ability. Standardized testing does not fit because it keeps procedures uniform. Question 70. Rather than guessing, Nora should connect an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge with which concept? Option A, standard deviation. Option B, reliability. Option C, test bias. Option D, validity evidence. The correct answer is option C, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Standard deviation is not the best choice because it describes score spread. Reliability is different because it concerns score consistency. Validity evidence does not fit because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Question 71. Curiosity rises when Nora reads that students transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, random reinforcement. Option B, classroom routines. Option C, accommodation. Option D, summative testing. The correct answer is option B, classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Random reinforcement is not the best choice because it gives rewards unpredictably. Accommodation is different because it adjusts access for a learner. Summative testing does not fit because it evaluates final achievement. Question 72. A CLEP-style scenario says students earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges. Which answer best captures it for Nora? Option A, token economy. Option B, mastery learning. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, logical consequence. The correct answer is option A, token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Mastery learning is not the best choice because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Classical conditioning is different because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Logical consequence does not fit because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Question 73. Inside a learning lab, Nora studies why a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps. Which concept fits? Option A, extinction. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, unrelated punishment. Option D, logical consequence. The correct answer is option D, logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Extinction is not the best choice because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Unrelated punishment does not fit because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Question 74. Looking at the clue that a teacher spots small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly, which idea should Nora remember? Option A, scaffolding. Option B, wait time. Option C, self-efficacy. Option D, withitness. The correct answer is option D, withitness. This describes withitness because withitness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Scaffolding is not the best choice because it gives temporary learning support. Wait time is different because it is a pause after asking a question. Self-efficacy does not fit because it is belief in capability. Question 75. Nora sees that a teacher pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone during a student coaching session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, response cost. Option B, wait time. Option C, withitness. Option D, distributed practice. The correct answer is option B, wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege after behavior. Withitness is different because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Distributed practice does not fit because it spreads study sessions over time. Question 76. When Nora notices that a prompt asks students to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact in a mini lecture, which idea is being tested? Option A, fixed ratio schedule. Option B, closed question. Option C, open-ended questioning. Option D, recall cue. The correct answer is option C, open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Closed question is different because it usually has one brief answer. Recall cue does not fit because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Question 77. During a peer study circle, Nora studies a case where a teacher tells a student exactly what worked and what to revise next. Which term fits best? Option A, random correction. Option B, summative grade only. Option C, effective feedback. Option D, general praise. The correct answer is option C, effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Random correction is not the best choice because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. Summative grade only is different because it reports performance without next steps. General praise does not fit because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Question 78. In a Bright Review class, Nora asks why a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying. Which answer names the idea? Option A, object permanence. Option B, self-regulated learning. Option C, operant conditioning. Option D, social facilitation. The correct answer is option B, self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Object permanence is not the best choice because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Operant conditioning is different because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Social facilitation does not fit because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Question 79. After reading that students take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading, how should Nora label the concept? Option A, reciprocal teaching. Option B, direct instruction. Option C, random assignment. Option D, token economy. The correct answer is option A, reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Direct instruction is not the best choice because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Random assignment is different because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards. Question 80. For a short exam review, Nora connects one student guides another through practice while both receive learning benefits with which principle? Option A, peer tutoring. Option B, tracking. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, lecture. The correct answer is option A, peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Tracking is not the best choice because it separates students into ability groups. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects work samples over time. Lecture does not fit because it is teacher presentation to a group. Question 81. Could a case where a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound be an example of which concept for Nora? Option A, phonemic awareness. Option B, syntax. Option C, morphology. Option D, phonics. The correct answer is option A, phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Syntax is not the best choice because it concerns sentence structure. Morphology is different because it studies meaningful word parts. Phonics does not fit because it links sounds to printed letters. Question 82. Why would Nora link a student improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, Piaget conservation. Option B, Skinner shaping. Option C, Bandura modeling. Option D, Maslow needs. The correct answer is option C, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Piaget conservation is not the best choice because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Skinner shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Maslow needs does not fit because it explains motivation through layered needs. Question 83. A practice item tells Nora that family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development. Which concept is most likely? Option A, Erikson psychosocial stages. Option B, Kohlberg moral stages. Option C, Brinfenbrenner ecological systems. Option D, information processing. The correct answer is option C, Brinfenbrenner ecological systems. This describes Brinfenbrenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around a child. Erikson psychosocial stages is not the best choice because it focuses on lifespan social-emotional conflicts. Kohlberg moral stages is different because it focuses on moral reasoning. Information processing does not fit because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Question 84. Before answering, Nora identifies that a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress. Which term should be chosen? Option A, authoritarian parenting. Option B, avoidant attachment. Option C, industry versus inferiority. Option D, secure attachment. The correct answer is option D, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Authoritarian parenting is not the best choice because it describes strict parenting style. Avoidant attachment is different because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Industry versus inferiority does not fit because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Question 85. Which choice helps Nora explain why two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability in a quick quiz review? Option A, moral reasoning. Option B, self-concept. Option C, temperament. Option D, criterion validity. The correct answer is option C, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Moral reasoning is not the best choice because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Self-concept is different because it is a person's view of self. Criterion validity does not fit because it links test scores to an outcome. Question 86. How can Nora classify a classroom moment where a child says code because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly? Option A, code switching. Option B, language overgeneralization. Option C, babbling. Option D, telegraphic speech. The correct answer is option B, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Code switching is not the best choice because it shifts language varieties based on context. Babbling is different because it is early sound play. Telegraphic speech does not fit because it uses short two-word phrases. Question 87. Suppose Nora observes that students explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need. Which concept is shown? Option A, aptitude test. Option B, behavior checklist. Option C, achievement test. Option D, moral dilemma assessment. The correct answer is option D, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Aptitude test is not the best choice because it predicts future learning potential. Behavior checklist is different because it records observed behaviors. Achievement test does not fit because it measures learned academic content. Question 88. While reviewing, Nora sees a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, ethnography. Option B, case study. Option C, correlational research. Option D, experimental research. The correct answer is option C. Correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Ethnography is not the best choice because it studies culture through immersion. Case study is different because it examines one person or small group deeply. Experimental research does not fit because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Question 89. One interesting clue says participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance. Which educational psychology term fits for Nora? Option A, matching. Option B, random sampling. Option C, random assignment. Option D, convenience sampling. The correct answer is option C. Random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Matching is not the best choice because it pairs participants on key traits. Random sampling is different because it selects participants from a population. Convenience sampling does not fit because it uses whoever is easily available. Question 90. From this example, where a researcher changes the type of feedback students receive, which answer should Nora select? Option A, confounding variable. Option B, control variable. Option C, independent variable. Option D, dependent variable. The correct answer is option C. Independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Confounding variable is not the best choice because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Control variable is different because it is held constant. Dependent variable does not fit because it is the measured outcome. Question 91. Students in a mini-lecture discuss why a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, independent variable. Option B, extraneous variable. Option C, dependent variable. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option C. Dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Independent variable is not the best choice because it is the factor manipulated. Extraneous variable is different because it is an outside influence. Random assignment does not fit because it is a grouping procedure. Question 92. Teachers in a peer study circle wonder why one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy. Which principle applies? Option A, control group. Option B, experimental group. Option C, sample. Option D, population. The correct answer is option A. Control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Experimental group is not the best choice because it receives the treatment being tested. Sample is different because it is the set of participants studied. Population does not fit because it is the larger group of interest. Question 93. Can Nora treat a teacher adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of students as evidence of which concept? Option A, mean. Option B, range. Option C, median. Option D, mode. The correct answer is option A. Mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Range is not the best choice because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Median is different because it is the middle score. Mode does not fit because it is the most frequent score. Question 94. If Nora must answer quickly, Which idea is signaled when a teacher wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average? Option A, percentile rank. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, mean. Option D, raw score. The correct answer is option B. Standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it shows relative standing. Mean is different because it gives the average but not spread. Raw score does not fit because it is the number of points earned. Question 95. Rather than guessing, Nora should connect a student's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group with which concept? Option A, grade equivalent. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, standard deviation. Option D, percentage correct. The correct answer is option B. Percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Grade equivalent is not the best choice because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Standard deviation is different because it describes score spread. Percentage correct does not fit because it reports items answered correctly. Question 96. Curiosity rises when Nora reads that students improve partly because they know they are being studied. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, placebo effect. Option B, testing effect. Option C, Hawthorne effect. Option D, observer bias. The correct answer is option C. Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Placebo effect is not the best choice because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Testing effect is different because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Observer bias does not fit because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Question 97. A CLEP-style scenario says students improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program. Which answer best captures it for Nora? Option A, maturation threat. Option B, instrumentation threat. Option C, regression to the mean. Option D, selection bias. The correct answer is option A. Maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Instrumentation threat is not the best choice because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Regression to the mean is different because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Selection bias does not fit because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Question 98. Inside a tutoring table, Nora studies why a researcher records detailed notes about learning interactions instead of only counting scores. Which concept fits? Option A, random assignment. Option B, standardized testing. Option C, meta-analysis. Option D, qualitative observation. The correct answer is option D. Qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Random assignment is not the best choice because it places participants into groups by chance. Standardized testing is different because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Meta-analysis does not fit because it statistically combines many studies. Question 99. Looking at the clue that a teacher studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own learning, which idea should Nora remember? Option A, longitudinal research. Option B, survey research. Option C, laboratory experiment. Option D, action research. The correct answer is option D. Action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Longitudinal research is not the best choice because it follows participants over time. Survey research is different because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Laboratory experiment does not fit because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Question 100. Nora sees that families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate during a quick quiz review. Which concept best explains it? Option A, informed consent. Option B, random assignment. Option C, confidentiality. Option D, debriefing. The correct answer is option A. Informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Random assignment is not the best choice because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Confidentiality is different because it protects private data. Debriefing does not fit because it explains details after participation.